Why do bad things happen to good people? It's kind of the title of this particular podcast. In today's readings, we encounter the character Tobit from the book of Tobit, who's described at the very beginning of the book as a virtuous man who is faithful to worship, careful to tithe, gives alms to orphans, widows, and strangers, obeys dietary laws, feeds the hungry, clothes the naked, and even buries the dead. Now here's a man who does no wrong. He's good, he's decent, he's faithful. And yet, things go terribly wrong. The night of the Feast of Pentecost, the great Jewish festival, one of the three great Jewish festivals, he was out that night. They come to him, and they need someone to bury the dead, and no one else would do it. And to honor the body of the deceased, rather than leaving it lie out exposed at night, he goes, spends the night digging a grave, carefully burying the body of the deceased. Exhausted, worn out from this charitable deed, he falls asleep against a wall, only to wake up, his eyes covered over in cataracts from bird droppings, of all things, almost to add insult to injury. Bird droppings in his eyes, sight gone. Goes to the doctors, and the more he goes, the worse they get, and eventually 4 years passes. He's blind. And frustration and tension is mounting in the family. His wife comes home, and she has become the sole breadwinner, working and slaving both to be wife and mother, husband and father. Working hard, working her fingers to the bone. She arrives one evening with the bonus. Not only did she get paid for the sewing she did, but she received a goat. The bleeding of the goat is kind of the straw that breaks the camel's back. Tobit can't find it in himself to understand how his wife could have possibly have earned a goat. It seems the hard work that she put into her family had gone by unnoticed, unappreciated. The vantage point from which Toba addresses his wife is from his suffering. He's a little bit bitter, a little bit angry. He takes it out on his wife, and she in return is also very bitter and angry, having again become a slave to make sure that he had everything he needed by working and tirelessly working more and more. And there's a clash. And the reading kind of ends that way for us today. There's no resolution. It ends with this heightened sense of frustration and anger that had built up because of this reality. In fact, I invite you to listen to the way the reading ends, the book of Tobit, chapter 2. Yet I would not believe her, and told her to give it back to its owner, referring to the goat. I became very angry with her over this, so she retorted, "Where are your charitable deeds now? Where are your virtuous acts? See, your true character is finally showing itself." And we have to wait for the resolution. We have to wait for the final reality to unfold, which is fitting so much of what we do in life. We can't be hasteful, we can't be rash. That the resolution may not happen today doesn't mean it won't come. Just because we aren't forgiven today doesn't mean we can't be forgiven or forgive tomorrow. Patience, patience, and more patience, mostly with ourselves and the way our heart responds to circumstances. We have to be willing to suffer our own inability to rise above the circumstances, to be magnanimous no matter the situation we're in. And that too is grace. That we have to remember that the vantage point we're looking at is never the whole picture. And the only one that has the whole picture, the only one that sees everything clearly, well, is God. As the gospel reminds us, as the Pharisees describes Jesus, "Teacher, we know that you are a truthful man, that you are not concerned with anyone's opinion. You do not regard a person's status, but teach the way of God in accordance with the truth." There it is. That's the vantage point we're hoping to arrive at. And slowly, day in, day out, with acts of faithfulness and hope and charity, we are able to finally arrive at the situation we had always longed for. In the words of G.K. Chesterton, we must remember this: happiness is a state of the soul, a state in which our natures are full of the wine of ancient youth, in which banquets last forever, and roads lead everywhere, where all things are under the exuberant leadership of faith, hope, and charity. May we let them be our guide. Let them lead us forth and not get blind like Tobit from our own vantage point, but trusting in the one who has the ultimate advantage, who sees all things, including you and I.